Welcome to the Working CEO podcast, where we share real advice for busy business leaders. No business school BS, no sugarcoating, just straight talk about how to get work done. After more than 20 years spent building multi-million-dollar partner programs for some of the largest tech brands, Theresa Caragol tapped her partnering powers to build a business of her own. As CEO of Achieve Unite, Theresa connects people and perfects partnerships to create opportunity. Her team helps businesses succeed through channel consulting, but they also help executives and entrepreneurs succeed through leadership coaching. We will chat with Theresa about how she harnesses the power of partnership and leadership for her company and her clients. That is up next on the Working CEO podcast. Stay tuned. Hi, friends. I'm your co-host, Susanna Song, VP of Marketing at Highwire Networks, and I am here with the Working CEO, Mark Porter, CEO of Highwire Networks, and he promises that the internet is strong today.
We can only hope. So,
yeah, joining us this morning is also a mother. So the three of us chatted earlier that our kids are back to school. It's that time of year, right? Theresa, you just dropped off your kids to school?
I did. I dropped off my kids for the official fall start. And yeah, I was a little emotional this morning. Very proud.
There you go. Just wait, Theresa. My wife and I just got our official back to school photo from our son from college for the first time. So where they have to take it themselves. As you can imagine, it was, as 18-year-old boys are wont to do, it was not exactly a well-posed picture. It was rather goofy. I'll share it with Susanna later. So at least it was G-rated.
That's right. That's a good thing.
Yeah. From him, you never know. So with our daughter, she takes about 1 million photos every day. So as a high school girl, as they all do, I think, these days. So
yeah, awesome. That's so true.
It's good to have them back, though. This might actually help the internet stability working from home this morning, Susanna. I think that's been part of my challenge the last couple episodes.
That's great. Well, it's great to be here with you all. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Cool. So, Theresa, tell us a little bit about, I'd like to understand a little bit about your journey. You have worked at some very large corporations over the years, and then, what led you to go from sort of, I'll call it stability, though, in the tech industry. I don't know that such a thing exists anymore, but from these large corporate jobs to deciding to strike out on your own. What was sort of the aha moment? Was it an epiphany, or was it like, oh my God, I've got to do something? We talk to people and it's everywhere in between. What led you to this place where you decided that you wanted to strike out on your own?
Those little babies over here. It was in the spirit of the conversation we were just having, I was running a division, and when you're a channel chief, a global channel chief, and you own sales, and, you have to travel all the time. And I can remember going to Bali and having my stomach was in knots. And I said, I'm on borrowed time and I can't keep doing this. And I came home and, they wanted me to travel 70% of the time. And I said, you know what? I'm just not your gal. If it was 10 years ago, I would have been your gal. And that was probably one of the most courageous risk. I didn't know what I was going to do. And that is probably the biggest lesson learned, is it was the best thing I ever did. And I am so proud of the company and the people and the work we do and the impact we're making on individuals and companies, and, but you have to have the courage to start there. And
So how did you go from not knowing what you wanted to do, but knowing this isn't it, to what you're doing today? How did that kind of evolve?
I left. I'm a big fan of having a coach, or whenever you're making a big transition, talking it through, and taking away the lessons learned, because there's always stuff if you really dig into it. And I did. And in this case, I hired a coach. So that was a really good experience. I think that fed it. I also people started calling me to see if I could help them. And it just happened very naturally and very organically. And within 3 weeks, I was helping 3 companies. And so we really just started out very naturally. And then about a year into kind of helping companies in consulting and coaching myself, because I also have a coaching certificate. And I was like, wait a minute, if boys can build companies, I could build a company. And that was the day the world shifted from me doing consulting to I am going to build a company. And I had 2 amazing people that really worked with me from the beginning, and are, just amazing and still deeply entrenched in the business and doing incredible work now.
So that's a big transition, because it's something that I've talked to people over the years. When you're in that consulting mode, there's kind of what I hear from folks who've done it for a long time is it gets exhausting, because if you're fully engaged in one project, you're not out looking for the next, and it's I don't want to say dumb luck that the next one finds you, but there's often these gaps and this kind of feast and famine and ups and downs. So how did it, when did it, when you decided to make that leap, what were some of the things that you viewed as the most important to get done to really truly make it a company and to build a business?
Yeah, I mean, so one was people and engaging the right people with us. We had some really good clients, and that certainly helped. We also, from a structure perspective, we operated as an LLC for a couple of years. And then, that was another shift in 2018. I actually moved us to a C Corp and, kind of took the next level as a CEO. So that also played into it. And, we were also doing at the time, we were productizing. One of my mentors said, if you're a services company, productize. If you're a product company, servicize. And so we really began looking at methodologies and not just doing straight consulting, really productizing what we do. And that was one of our best decisions. And we started doing that early on.
That wouldn't have been Callie, was it?
Oh,
that sounds exactly, because that sounds like something Callie would say, but in fact,
she is really smart. I agree.
Yeah, the reason we worked with Callie is actually because she was able to productize her services in a way that absolutely resonated with me when she put it in front of me. Wonderful. As we went through the process of interviewing a number of players, on top of just knowing her stuff, she was the only one who put it in a way that I could understand what I was getting or what I was spending, and put a nice package around a service, which is how we go to market with all of our services, is try to make it easy to consume for people, easy to understand what you get for that money. And in services in general, which I think are always the toughest, it's the toughest sale in the world. If you can't wrap a nice package around it and put a little bow on top and make it easy for them to understand, you're defeating yourself. So that's a very interesting approach to it.
And the other thing I would add to what you just said is being able to quantify impact, being able to quantify with your clients, what are the impact and why do you do business with us and what have we done for you? And I think it's at a personal level. I think it's at a career level. It's certainly at a company and a business impact level. One of the things I think we do really well is we accelerate companies' time to market. We accelerate their success and doing it right first time. And, and now I've been doing this long enough, I see it over and over and over again. And
that's a really interesting point, because, there's so many different intangibles in the services. And in the case of Callie, we were talking about marketing. In the case, in your case, we're talking about, how I'll call it mean time to success, right? We talk in our business, people talk about mean times to detection and all those things. There's so many more intangibles, even when we're rolling out thousands of sites to deploy something. It's how fast do you get to revenue, right?
Yep.
How fast can you recognize? It's one thing to have $6 million in work in progress. How fast can you recognize it?
Yeah.
How fast can you turn it to cash? What are the cycles? And can we shorten those? If we can deliver it faster than the next guy, maybe we're 5% or 10% more expensive. But if we're 25% more efficient and faster, does that matter to you? Does that matter to your customer, right? If what's driving,
right,
what's the objective, right? So when you're talking to your partners, is that your value proposition that you can get them to that?
100% is, speed to market, accelerating revenue growth, doing it right first time. I see companies who spend years and they never actually get there and it never actually works. And then the other value is, you probably know, we do a lot of work in this leadership by influence, partnering, trust building. There is becoming a science to that. And that is all around the people side. And because nothing works without the people. And if we don't get the people working really well together and we don't keep them in companies, right? We talk about the great resignation to the great retention, and how do you retain and develop and, have the best people in your business. And that's a really deep passion of mine that is really important, I think, as well.
That one keeps coming up episode after episode.
Yeah, that's why I laughed.
I had some pretty strong opinions on that one based on what we're seeing. So let's talk a little bit, because there's a couple of things you mentioned in there that are kind of near and dear to my heart in building a business, building a brand, and those things. I want to step back and first let's talk about what it is. We kind of skipped over it, but let's talk about what it is that you do for a company in terms of helping them build their channel. What is a channel? Those sorts of pieces for the audience, because I think that'll be key context, because I have a real important follow-up question to that, but I want to kind of lay out what that is first. So your 30-second commercial for yourself.
What you do. A 30-second commercial. There's two parts of our business. One of the sides of our business is that consulting, advising, strategy, program development, and helping to build partner ecosystems and channels. I fundamentally believe every single company needs a partner ecosystem. I don't care if you're 5 people. I don't care if you're 50 people. I don't care if you're 5,000 people, 5 million. That is critical. And so that's a big part of our mission. And then the other side of our company is the people development in support of that. Everything we do, we call ourselves a partnering success company. Everything we do is around partnerships, alliances, channel success. That's kind of our swim lane. We're getting ready to launch, which I'm crazy excited about. We've spent 3 years researching with Arizona State and Notre Dame. EQ, IQ, this is your PQ. It is your partnering quotient. It is your ability to build trusted relationships and partnerships. That could be inside your organization, across your organization. And so that will be coming out in the next 3 weeks. And it's having amazing success already in teams and advisory councils and some of the other work we do. So we're really excited about that.
So that's exactly actually where I was going, because when we talk about internally, what we do is deliver things, services, a number of them across a really incredible array, from carrier on down to enterprise and small business and those things, and all sorts of services, professional services, managed services, staffing services, really, really broad, sometimes challenging to distill it down and make sure it's not just, me too, right? Because really we talk about, we have these 3 things, are 3 uniques. And if we don't do them well, we shouldn't be. If we can't do all 3 of them, we just shouldn't be engaged in doing it. So when you look at what we then talk about is that we do service, but what we sell is trust. Because at the end of the day, we're 100% channel company. And when I talk to people, they really struggle to build channels. To build one from scratch is a challenge, and we've had tremendous success with it over the years. And our cybersecurity one has grown to nearly 200 partners in just a few years, and that's a large testament to Susanna and the marketing team and those pieces. But I really believe that as we built this journey, we talked about going from trusted advisor, trusted partner, to trusted authority in the space and those pieces. How do you talk? It all comes down to trust at the end of the day. For somebody to trust you with their customer, or to expose you to their business in a way that they don't expose everybody to it.
Mhm.
How do you, what are a couple of the things that are really key in your mind to building that trusted business partnership or that trusted business ecosystem?
Mhm.
Because I believe 100% that you're right on. Every business needs an ecosystem for something. You have partners, you have people providing services to your business. You have something your business is providing to others. If you don't view it as an ecosystem and a system in general,
Mhm.
you're going to fail. So what are some of the key takeaways that somebody who's thinking about starting a business or is starting a business and struggling to scale it
Mhm.
needs to take into consideration at that stage of their venture?
So, we talk a lot about, think about a quadrant, right? And one of the axis is the people trust, the individual trust. Do I trust Mark Porter? Do I trust Susanna? The other axis is the company trust, right? And the business value domain. And do I trust your Highwire Networks and your organization to do what they say they're going to do? And both of those are critical. And we don't believe you can have one without the other. And so we really focus on both domains and helping to perfect both domains. And in the individual trust, what we've learned through the research with PQI, Partnering Quotient Index, is there are, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 5-factor model, psychology, Myers-Briggs and DISC and Strengths Matters. A lot of these are built on this 5-factor model. But as we did our research, we uncovered there's thousands of neofacets in the 5-factor model. And these neofacets are personality traits. And what we uncovered in the magic of the work that we've done is there are certain neofacets that predict a person's ability to build trust. And so there's 5 types of people, and you have to develop all 5 of these in order to have the maximum level of trust. And so that's where we really spend a lot of our time on now is, Mark might be a strategizer by nature. He's got to work on his exemplar, his ethics, his integrity skills. Not really. I'm sure you're phenomenal at that, right? Or I'm an energizer. I'm a high energy. That's one of the types of people. That's my native, most comfortable place. I am not a harmonizer. I have to work on my harmonizing skills. I have to work to stay very tranquila in situations. I have to work to stay very balanced and even tempered because that's one of the neofacets.
Oh, that's my strong suit is balanced and
you can
balanced
tell. I bet you might
tranquil.
be that, right? You might be a
I think those are, every time Susanna describes me, she's like, he's the most tranquil person that I've ever worked with. And yeah, that's exactly it.
And so you have a dominant trait. However, you might need your energizer skills in certain situations with certain people, right?
I work on my energizing.
You might, right. And I might need to work on my harmonizing. So that is the work that we do under PQI. It's an assessment tool. It's actually a platform. And then it really helps people develop these skills and these traits so that they can maximize their impact both as a person and then with other people in building trust.
This podcast might get flagged for disinformation if they think that I was serious about the tranquility thing. So, in fact, Susanna's going to probably flag it just so people understand that it is a challenge. It is actually, I think, working through those things. I tell people because I think they're all very important, and it is incredibly challenging. I talk to folks about. I may not be good at all of those things, but the good news is I am getting a little older and hopefully a little better along the way every day. So I've had, in fact, Don Schmidt, who's our executive vice president who runs the sales organization and a couple other pieces of the business. Don was in our office one day and I had a conversation. He was just passing through town. It's a Friday morning. Nobody was in the office but me. It was dark and cold and nasty out.
Right.
Donnie's sitting at the table across from me, and I had a conversation that was very bad conversation, and he only heard my side of it, and he was just sitting there across, staring at me. And when it was over, he said, "Mark, I'm really proud of you." He said, "I've known you for almost 20 years now, and the fact that you didn't come completely unglued during that conversation shows me how much personal growth you've had." So he said, 5 years ago, I would have expected yelling, and 10 years ago, I would have expected you to be on a plane to go confront that.
In the art and science of difficult conversations is part of trust building, because some of our deepest relationships happen in those difficult conversations when we as leaders handle them well, right?
Yeah. And absolutely.
And all of us have some of us who have some of these more passionate personalities.
That's what I said. I'm not angry. I'm just passionate. I'm not at all upset. I'm just excited.
Well, Theresa, you nailed it, because our partners will often say that the trust is solidified during the hardest times and the most challenging times, when we're able to be transparent and work through those challenges with them.
Of course. I can remember being a channel chief, and a network went down on a Saturday night, right? And we took care of them, and we were on it, and we worked with that partner, and he's still one of my dearest friends today. And those are the moments that matter, right? And there's personal difficult conversations, and there's business difficult conversations in the value chain.
I often say to partners in the beginning, it's important that we like each other when things are going well. So we select our partners carefully. We don't want to do business with everybody who comes along. There are times we're just not culturally aligned, and that's going to lead to challenges down the road. So we have to have a good relationship when things are going well, because we're going to need it when they don't, and they will not go well at times when you're delivering services and dealing with humans, right? It's 100% inevitable. And I just had that conversation with one of our leaders who was upset that somebody made a mistake, and we went through, did he make it coming from a good place or a bad place? And it was always from a good place with that individual, because if you were to say who exemplifies our core values,
right,
his picture would be the first one you would think of. So when he made a mistake, and he said, well, I just hope it doesn't happen again. I said, it will, not the same one, but he'll make another one. I'll make several today. I made a bunch yesterday. You're trying to figure it out. So that's really important, to be able to have those, and to be able to understand that friction and confrontation are part of life, part of business, and necessary for growth, right?
It strikes me, Mark, two things. One is, I remember being at Nortel early in my career, and Nortel was going down. And I remember someone saying,
very intimately familiar with that.
I'm totally familiar with Nortel going down. And I remember someone saying, you can't make a mistake, you can't fail. It's become not a safe place to fail. And what they said was that was part of the core demise of the company. And so I think that there's some real truth to, you have to have a culture where it's okay to make mistakes and learn and innovate out of them. And so that was going to be my second point, is this whole culture and values alignment thing is really, really important as we are entrepreneurs. And, I wish I had learned earlier to walk away from a client that wasn't the right fit for us, but I did, and
it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. And
it's a big step for a business, though, when you understand that you don't need to do business with everybody, and that you should do business with the right people, and that not every deal is worth chasing. There's an opportunity cost to everything you do, whether it's just simply your time or whatever. If you're chasing a bad deal with bad margins or a high level of effort profile, you always have to look and say, would I be better off chasing this thing with 1,000 sites, or making the same, having the same opportunity revenue wise with 200 sites, where I can do it better, less stress? What's the opportunity to cost to the organization? Am I going to wear people out? Am I going to burn all of my personal capital with this partnership because nobody understands how hard it is to do this job? And at the end, the job's done and done well, and we don't talk to each other anymore. So we're standing victorious over a smoldering hole in the earth. What good does that do?
What good does that do? Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think there's a lot of truth to, Jim and Al remind me, strategic is strategic on both sides. Are you strategic to me and am I strategic to you? And if the answer isn't yes on both sides, what are we doing? I thought, oh my goodness, that's a great point, and knowing where we are, what's the relevancy on both sides and how does that work? And that's been a journey for us.
So the one question that we ask everybody, and I told you I would ask, but I didn't tell you what it was. It's not the last question. But it's the one question that we ask everybody that's in every podcast is you've been doing this now for about 7 or 8 years out on your own, right? So what would you tell yourself today? What would you tell that 7 or 8 year old version of yourself as you were starting out that you've learned along the way? What would you tell that version of you? What's the best advice you could give yourself in that situation as you're starting out again?
Not only would I give myself 7 or 8 years ago, but I'd give myself, I was just telling my boys this, it is a marathon, not a sprint. And the relationships you build over the lifetime are, when they're authentic and they're real and you care and you are kind and you serve others, there's a universe factor, whatever you believe, it works and it's powerful and it's the right thing to do as well. And I think I realize that at just such a deep level now. And so, the universe at work is just an amazing thing, and you put good out there and it comes back, and not in the ways you think it's going to come back a lot of times. But so that's one of my big lessons. The other big lesson as an entrepreneur is the importance of focus, the importance of servicizing products, productizing services, I think we didn't learn that really fast. It's taken us a while. And, now we do. And I think it's serving us really well.
So, Theresa, how can people get a hold of you if they're in the industry and looking to avail themselves of your services? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Email me at theresa@achieveunite.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with Achieve Unite on LinkedIn, come to our achieveunite.com website. Let's see what else. Facebook, email. I give
just Google her.
On my cell phone, but I would love to connect. And
the beauty of Google is you can just Google Theresa, right? Or Achieve Unite.
You can do either one of those. That's perfect.
There you go. And Susanna will have a link or something in our whatever you call it,
landing page.
Landing page. My goodness, I'm a technical wizard someday. So,
by the way, that's another lesson: is let the people who are experts do what they do, right? And don't try to be an expert in everything.
That's a great lesson: is hire good people and let them accomplish great things. That's one of our. We talk about this a lot because I think employment is one of the greatest challenges of being in business. Good, bad, ugly, and everywhere in between. And you learn a lot about people when you employ them, more than you ever really wanted to know. But one of the things that we talk about our EOS system that we use, which I can't speak highly enough about because it gives us a framework to manage the business day to day, week to week. But one of the things that they talk about is your purpose. You have a niche, which is what you do, and then there's why you do it. You go through this in the beginning of the process. And I sat there waiting, watching everybody else flail away, giving an answer, till the facilitator looked square at me and said, "This usually comes from the owner, the founder." We were a small private company at that time. And I said, "Oh, that's easy. I know why I do this. And I wake up every morning hoping to give people an opportunity to be the best version of themselves that they can be and do great things. Like that's, I don't care what they did or where they came from. If they're good people and they, want to do something cool, we want them to be able to do that." And that was after 30 minutes of kind of flailing around. I thought I was letting everybody else participate in the process, right? I didn't know they were looking for me. And the reality is, when you do that, it frees. I think it frees me up as the entrepreneur, if you will, the CEO, whatever, to have more meaningful conversations with people and to be able to understand what it takes to drive them. Yeah, it really,
phenomenal.
it really does allow you to step back and
Right.
look at what does somebody need, and then you learn plenty by mistake too. But there's a lot to be said for that. But it's an interesting journey, and I get the great joy of the pleasure of talking to people like yourself, and trying to get it out there and help others as they go along their way. So thank you very much for your time, and we wish you much success. I was telling Susanna beforehand, I'm sure we know a lot of the same people based on your background and the Nortel connection. So. There's a lot of, I'm 100% certain we have a lot of mutual friends. So
we probably have hung out in the same places over the years too.
I'm somewhat surprised we have not actually met. So yeah, it's because I know a lot of the folks that you were working with in some of your past lives. So that's awesome. And if there's anything we can do to connect and help, I'd love to do that. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you. It was so much fun. I loved it. Very painless.
Cool.
Well, I'm so glad that you joined us today, Theresa. Thank you. Love hearing from women-owned business entrepreneurs. So that's something that would love to, learn more about, Theresa.
By the way, shout outs. One, to the Small Business Administration. The SBA in America is awesome. And two is the WBENC organization, WeBank, for minority women-owned businesses. That also is an amazing organization. Both have helped me over the years. So
awesome. I will be checking those out, and our viewers and listeners, please check those two organizations out as well. So that's our show for today. Thanks again to Theresa. Thank you to our listeners for joining us. Be sure to join us for our next episode of The Working CEO, when we will meet the Big Cheese. The Big Cheese, that's right. A former preacher turned tech CEO turned cloud evangelist.
Oh, neat.
That's a hook, right? Well, I hope you'll join us for episode 12.
I'm intrigued.
I love it. Well, thank you very much.
Until next time, I'm Susanna Song.
I'm Mark Porter.
And this is The Working CEO. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of The Working CEO. Also, don't forget to rate this show, share the episodes you like, and leave us a comment. Remember, whether your collar is blue or white, roll up your sleeves and get real. The Working CEO is made possible by Highwire Networks, a leading global provider of managed and professional services and managed cybersecurity services. We serve businesses in more than 180 countries. To learn more, visit highwirenetworks.com.